Scottish Football Social Club is brought to you by McBookie.com. Take a lookie at McBookie today.
Hello everyone and welcome along to the Scottish Football Social Club and Premier Sports in association with McBookie. It is hard to believe we're in the cusp of November, hard to believe it's episode 10 and hard to believe that this is still our pairing. Michael Stewart and Alan Hutton here as always on a Monday. Al, I'll come to you first because I think congratulations are due to you because you've stayed the distance. You've been here for all 10 episodes. You've put up with Michael Stewart and myself every single Monday evening. The pay rise is coming, right?
We'll have to wait and see about that. Well, as long as I'm enjoying it, I'm all good to go.
Michael, you love it, don't you? In a new room again tonight, is it? Surely. How many rooms are in this house?
Well, I'm trying to get as far away from the kids so that there's no too much noise. So I am tucked away in a corner, Darryl. Yes.
Good. Listen, fingers crossed, no noise in the background. I'll bring them in, but it could be entertaining. We could see what happens. Right, let's get right into it because it's another weekend full of drama, full of talking points. I think, first of all, on the match that you two were at, Saturday live on Premier Sports up at Pittodrie. Al, were you okay? Because I tuned in and I noticed they had you miles away. You couldn't have been any further from the fans.
It was actually all right. I think they've actually been listening to me in recent weeks when I do the games and on here on a Monday. And I'm happy to see them do well. So I don't see why they have to come for me. So yeah, you're right though. We were in the stand, we were up in the corner, away from everybody, and it was perfect. Good viewing platform. Happy days.
I think he's joined the Red Army there, Michael. Happy for them to do well was the quote that could be in the press tomorrow.
No, come on. All I'm saying is, for our league, it's good to see teams challenging and doing well. It makes it exciting. Simple as that.
That is very true, Michael, isn't it? Did you believe that?
Hutz, would you be happy if Aberdeen finished above Rangers?
Is this you just coming for me tonight? Of course I wouldn't be happy, but it's nice to see other teams challenging. It's good, is it not?
Listen, it's great. It is great for the league. It's also great for the Dons fans, Michael, who once again, at the end of that match, what an atmosphere you must have been taking in. Did you go out for a little drink in the Granite City after, Michael? Did you go drinking with the fans? I know you're a man of the people.
I had to get back home, Darryl. Back home because I had to go to the Edinburgh Derby on Sunday morning. Unfortunately, I had to miss out on the hospitality in the Granite City. So, yes, it didn't happen. It's been
that kind of weekend, though. It's been relentless. What about the game, Alan? And the end of the game again for Aberdeen, who just keep playing, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, see, at half-time, I must admit I was expecting more. I mean, obviously Aberdeen were on the front foot and they were trying to create. Dundee United just kind of sat in a 5-4-1 and made it difficult for them. But again, Jimmy Tilleen at half-time makes a substitution where we're talking about it and saying Keskinen comes off, Morris goes on, an instant impact. He goes down the right-hand side, flashes a ball across the box, and it just kind of spurs them on. And from there on in, you just felt that they were going to go ahead and do something special. Of course, they get the goal, they get the 3 points that was needed. But me personally, I was expecting a little bit more from Dundee United. The way they've started the league, an opportunity to jump Rangers, obviously, just until the next day. I was just expecting more. But again, Aberdeen just keep rolling on.
They show their strength and depth, don't they? Michael, with the changes they can make, and Jimmy Tilleen, he's always positive. 4 forward players on to finish that contest.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's one of the hallmarks of his side and his time, at the start of the season so far is that the urgency that he puts into the team. They're not settling for a draw. They're going and chasing victories. The front four, as you said, there were changed. All front four substitutions. And Shinnie had come on in the middle of the park as well for Palaversa. So, the back line's staying the same and everything in front of them is up for grabs. It's a joy to see. Long may it continue. And I hear what I was saying because I would agree to a certain extent that at halftime, from both teams, I was expecting a wee bit more. But that's I think, where the accolades have come flying in for Jimmy Tilleen in regards to he's not waiting until 60 minutes to make a sub. It's half time. And I'm still, at half time, I wasn't sure whether, Keskinen perhaps had picked up a knock or whether it was just purely a change of personnel because it's very similar players. 2 players out in the wide area who have got very good pace, and they're direct. But the thing that changed it for me was they were getting just an extra couple of passes in, Aberdeen, and then isolating 1v1s and overloads in the wide areas. Whereas in the first half, it felt like they were forcing it a wee bit too much. They were trying to play that longer ball and stretch the game just a little bit too quickly. And with Shayden Morris on, he made a blistering, start in the second half, and obviously made a big contribution later on as well.
Yeah, and I think from memory, it was the right back Nicky Devlin in the box,
Yep.
heading it back, laying on the winner. I mean, you must love seeing that. I mean, that also shows the effort of the team. And Nicky Devlin, who's recently signed a contract extension, what an addition he's been to Aberdeen.
He's been outstanding. I mean, I think he's got into the last Scotland squad as well. He's up there. He was a captain for the day. You could see what it meant to him. But like going back to what we were talking about, I spoke to Peter Leaving just as we were walking around the pitch, just as everything had finished, and I was just saying, how are you getting on with the manager? How's things going? And he was just saying, we were talking about the subs and stuff, and he was like, that's what he wants. He wants to change games. He wants to affect it. He wants to go for 3 points. He was talking about the Celtic game, the changes that he made, and he was still going for it. He didn't want the draw. And it's just exciting for everybody involved in that club moving forward, because they want to go and win games of football. They don't want to just draw and just be happy being mid-table. They genuinely feel that they can go and affect things and really go and make a push for this league.
There's
Good
a
question.
Clark Gordon, I tell you what, he sends a few in, I believe. But Alan, I'm sure this one's for you. How many Rangers players would get in the Aberdeen team currently? Do you know what? It's not a bad question, because Rangers are toiling at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, at this moment in time, there wouldn't be many. And look, the league would tell you that. And if we've seen enough of Rangers and Aberdeen, and if you put them side by side, there's not many at this moment in time that would get in that team, if I'm being brutally honest. But that's why I can't wait for Wednesday. I think it's going to be a cracker of a game. Two teams that really desperate need and want to win. So, look, a lot of questions will be answered come Wednesday, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, how many's not too many?
You're really pushing it, aren't you? Look, I can only go on what I've seen at this moment in time. And would you pick many over? Look, I'm not going to go right into it. There's not many.
Can the Dons keep this going, Michael, do you think? It's a huge week, isn't it? I mean, look at the next two fixtures they've got after Rangers Premier Sports Cup semi-final.
Yep. It's do you know what? I think inevitably over the course of the season there's going to be a dip. Everybody suffers it. There'll be injuries, there'll be suspensions. Although having said that, obviously Aberdeen have already had, Leighton Clarkson's been out for a spell. Papagay's out at the moment. So that, they have taken a few injuries at the moment already, not long term, mind you. Obviously, although Papagay I think is maybe about 3 or 4 months at this moment. It's impossible to say, but the one thing that's quite clear, and obviously from what Al's just said there as well, is that the mindset is perfectly clear for everybody to see inside the club and outside. Is that he's going for it. He's going for wins, and it is a cliche taking each game as it comes, but it very much does make a lot of sense when you're inside the place to be focusing purely on the next game. Because if you can get all your energies focused on that, that's how you can build up such a head of steam like they've got just now. The next two games, you said quite right, are massive. They are huge. Wednesday, obviously, as we've already touched on, against Rangers, and then the Premier Sports Cup, the semi-final at Hampden against Celtic. Now, they're even though those two games are massive, I look back to the last three that they've just had, and prior to that, there was a bit of the debate about they haven't really been challenged yet. Then they see off Hearts at Pittodrie with a late winner. They then go to Celtic Park and they come from 2-0 down to get a draw away from home. And now they've dispatched Dundee United, who were sitting fourth in the table. So the tests are coming, and they're coming up with the answers. So it is really, mouth-watering games that are on the horizon here, and I'm looking forward to them big time.
Michael, do you not even think, though, like, when you talk about the games you just spoke about there, like the Ross County, Hearts, Celtic comeback, they might not have played their best football, but they also can find a way to win. When it's not necessarily going the way they want, they change something up, or they just believe in the process, they keep going forward, and they grind out results. I always think the better teams, whether it be Celtic, have won lots of leagues, Rangers in the past, it's about finding a way to win when you're not at your best. And I think they've got that dialed in at this moment in time.
No, they definitely do. Definitely do. Because, You wouldn't say that. When I was watching the game on Saturday, I got a real sense of they were okay. They might not have been a scintillating best, but they were so dominant. I mean, the majority of the game was played with Rubezic and Malloy quite open and quite high up the park, but just dominating possession, trying to pick Dundee United off. And you could just get the sense of this is a side that were in real control of the game. It didn't look like there was any real danger that they were going to be losing that game. Now, obviously, breakaways can happen, bit of bad luck, a deflection, a set piece or something like that. But it was a side that you just got the sense of they were in real control of the game. And that's what, top teams do. And certainly at this moment in time, Aberdeen they're in a great position.
You've already mentioned Dundee United, and there's a question coming in from Kenny Thompson. Al, what do you think? Because on a return to the top flight, they've actually been superb so far. The points total looks really good as well. I mean, just watching on, I would say they're a really good bet for the top six. But are there enough teams that you've seen so far better than Dundee United to make you believe that they'll be anything but a top six side?
Sitting here today, I definitely think they can be top six. I think we've spoke about it in the past. The recruitment that they've done under the manager who gets the best out of the players that are already there. I think they've had an incredible start. I mean, probably not many fans would think they'd be sitting where they are at this moment in time, being the team that's just been promoted. So to be playing the way they are, I think is excellent. I thought they were quite defensive for large periods of time. And I know they're not possibly going to go up there and open up and allow Aberdeen loads of chances. But I think what I've seen so far, there is no reason that they can't be a top six team.
Quick one on that, Michael, for you.
I would expect them to be top six. I think Jim Goodwin's got them, resolute, difficult to beat. And I hear what I was saying, but I think there is an aspect and an element of teams going to Pittodrie now are not petrified, but they're going there knowing that they're coming up against a top team. Hence, the way they set up.
Yeah, it really is neck and neck at the top of the table anyway. The Dons are going well. Celtic just keep going too. And Alan, they've had a really good week, haven't they? Because they win it for Park right off the back of what they achieved in Bergamo. Last week we were talking about this, the question marks going into this Champions League game, but they were resolute against Atalanta as well. I think it's been a really good week for Brendan Rodgers.
Absolutely, it's been a good week because the question marks were there. They were going to get judged in the Champions League games to go to Atalanta. How they're going to play? They're going to be this free-flowing football? Are they going to be wide open? No, they weren't. I thought defensively they were solid. People putting huge blocks in, everything on the line. I thought it was an excellent performance from them, and they come away with a valuable point. I think from Motherwell's point of view, I thought they started the game actually really well. They were probably looking at it saying they've had a tough game midweek. Can we go and get after them? Lennon Miller hits the post and the bar right away, but you just know Celtic and what they are. I think they made something like 4 changes, and they've such a strong squad, and they're going to come good at some stage. And as soon as they get that first goal from Luke McCowan, you just feel that they're going to go on, and the momentum's going to be there for them. But very difficult team to stop at this moment in time.
McCowan's been brilliant, Michael. I know you really like him, but he just slots into that team. Callum McGregor out, question marks over, will Celtic really miss him? What's the dynamic in the middle of the midfield? And it might have took them a little bit of time to get it right in the game, but they always seem to have the quality to see them through these types of contests.
Aye, there's a belief there, of course, and it's largely, comes from the fact that they've got a squad that's full of, quality. So, and right through every department, the coaching staff, the manager as well, they're a well-oiled machine. I've got to say that, last week we were talking about the sort of gap that Carter Vickers leaves in the team. I thought the 2 centre-halves in Bergamo were outstanding. Trusty and Scales, more so obviously Trusty, the question mark, because he's not long in the door. I thought he was really, really good. The two of them, I think Scales just continues to grow in stature, to be perfectly honest. Whenever he's posed a challenge, I think he's seldom found wanting. Good on the ball, positionally, pretty good, and in the air, Trusty and him on midweek in Bergamo were everything that came into the box. They dealt with it brilliantly, and I thought the manager, the tactical setup it clearly worked. It clearly worked, and it's quite an interesting one because we were talking last week as well about how it becomes a very polarised debate about open and expansive or parking the bus. And, like a lot of things, the truth's somewhere in the middle. It was neither. And the manager's playing into that narrative a wee bit as well, but I'm not going to change, and keeping that sort of perception that they're playing free-flowing attacking football. It was somewhere in the middle. And that's probably where it needs to be, away from home against top opponents.
Yeah, they had opportunities on the break. If they just
Absolutely.
picked a better pass at times, they could have been in a few times, Alan, in Bergamo. But Austin Trusty, Michael's right. The many questions were asked of him ahead of the last couple of games, but he seems to have all the attributes you would want in a central defender who can head the ball. There was times at Fir Park where he had to turn once when he made a mistake, if you remember. His recovery speed looked really good in the game. So he seems to have just about everything you'd expect you'd need as a centre-half at the top level.
Yeah. Well, he's come in for decent money, and I always thought he was a good player, so he had to bide his time and wait to come into the team. But I think what he's shown so far is quality. I mean, we've seen him the St Johnstone game. I thought he looked really good. He was like a kind of Rolls Royce. Nothing really affected him. He came out with the ball. He was quick, powerful. The interesting one for me now is they are playing really well together. What happens when Carter Vickers comes back?
It's a great question.
We know he's the go-to guy, isn't he? So he's going to play, you would think, when he's fit. But who does he play alongside? Both playing at the moment in time are left-sided. So he's got a big decision to make.
What do you think, Alan? Who would you pair him with?
I think he'll keep him with Scales at this moment in time. I think what he's done, he's been there for a long period of time now playing. I think he's getting better with every single game. I think it was kind of unfair for Scales at one stage because the question mark was always there. People were saying they probably need another centre-half to come in. But I think he's answered all those questions, stood up to it, and just become even better week on week.
Yeah, Scales is doing it for club and country. Michael, how do you see this moving going forward? And by the way, what a great problem to have, because top centre-halves are hard to find.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the beauty of, stiff competition within the squad. It raises the bar, and it poses the challenge to those that are in possession of the jersey. You need to keep performing, you need to get better, or there are others that will step in. I would agree with Al. I think at the moment that he would be sticking with Scales. But, the thing is, football, for clubs like Celtic, they've got so many games, and there is inevitably going to be injuries, like Carter Vickers at the moment. There's suspensions as well. So I think everyone fully fit and available, he would be going with Carter Vickers and Scales at the moment. But there are plenty of games to be able to shuffle it around so that they're all getting plenty of games. And it's Luke McCowan for me falls in the same category as this in terms of when we're talking about in the middle of the park and some folk talking about won't be able to get enough game time. For me, and this is just my personal view, I would have him higher in the pecking order than Bernardo, for example.
I would.
And
what about what Kieran Nolan is mentioning there? I mean, he can't be far away from a Scotland call, albeit obviously we've got some great options in midfield, and Lewis Ferguson's fit again, almost ready to start playing again. So it's a tough area of the team to get into, but why not?
Yeah, well, if he manages to get a run of games, consistently at Celtic, and he performs and scores goals the way that that he can, then he's not going to be far away from it. Obviously, got a double header coming up in a few weeks, and then there's a bit of a break until March again. So he's got time there. If he's able to put a real run together, then perhaps looking towards the World Cup qualifiers starting in March, I think he could be in with a really good shout getting in there. He's certainly good enough. He's got all the.
He's definitely good enough.
Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely good enough.
Okay. Can I mention another right back before I move forwards, Alan? Alistair Johnson popping up with another goal again, but his performances are so kind of consistent at the moment, and another outstanding performer in Bergamo, I thought.
Yeah, but look, it seems like he's a leader within that group. Yeah, exactly, which is very difficult as a defender because there's going to be people trying to run in behind you and different things. You're going to have to put in tackles. I think, look, he's been an outstanding signing for me. He was a captain on that day, which kind of tells you a lot. But one-on-one defending, I think he's very good. He's very clever. He doesn't give people space. He knows when to go and challenge or when to stand off. And I just think as well, going forward, he gives you something. Like, he's not gung-ho and just erratic and caught up the pitch. He's very rarely caught out if you look at the way he plays. But coming up at the back post, he always likes to get in those kind of spaces. He comes up with a goal and kind of gets them rolling again. And I just think he's been an excellent signing, and one that I think attacking players look at and know they're going to be in for a difficult challenge on that day. So yeah, I think he's been excellent.
So
the
many.
thing about Alistair Johnson is he's a winner as well.
Yeah.
You know, he's
You
got
can
that,
see it, it's passion.
totally. He's got that mentality. You saw it as soon as he joined the club. You know, and obviously, very quickly forgetting about Juranovic, because Juranovic was outstanding, and he's out the door. You know, very quickly. Alistair Johnson comes in, and it's almost just forgotten about.
And the value for money. Some of the signings Ange Postecoglou made, just remarkable when you reflect back the number of players that he brought in, the number of hits that he made late in the window, guys like Carter Vickers coming in, and many others. We could go on Celtic, but we need to keep moving on now. Alan, your favourite subject?
Let's leave it.
What did you make of Rangers at Ibrox against St Mirren? It's 3 points on the board, but only just. They were fortunate at times.
No, but that's I kind of find myself saying that all the time, where they're just getting the job done, and it's difficult. I mean, fans turn up at Ibrox and they want to see Rangers dominate teams, be in control, and it's very rarely the case. I mean, they had a good win midweek. I thought FCSB were poor, to be fair.
And they rested a lot of players to start the game, as you know.
Yeah, exactly. They had a derby game this week. At the weekend there, so they did rest a few. You can only beat what's in front of you. They've done that, but like I said, they weren't great. But then going on to this game, you're saying, right, you're at home. We want to see a performance. And it's just so up and down at the moment. Like, you just genuinely don't know what you're going to get. I thought Olasanya bullied proper all game. I thought it was he really struggled against them. Even the marking. I know Gogic runs off. I think somebody was marking. He runs off Sunday, but he comes into Proper's area where he should be big, strong. He's a defender, go and attack the ball, and he looked so weak. I thought it was really difficult, a really difficult afternoon. But Tierney comes up with the goods at the end, and they just get by. But it's a problem. I mean, honestly, they should be dominating Ibrox, and I just don't see it. I just genuinely don't know what team's going to turn up.
Butland was obviously poor in the goal as well. He came out flapping, obviously, in the St Mirren goal. But Proper is an interesting one, Alan, because I know we spoke about when he first signed, and the kind of word was an experienced head who could help marshal the back line. He seems to be so up and down in terms of performances, and he clearly has a mistake in him. And I think a lot of Rangers fans maybe watching at the weekend will now really appreciate the role that John Souttar's had in the last few weeks, because they missed him, didn't they?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think John Souttar's been really good this season. He's been good with Scotland as well, and it was a big miss. He's aggressive. He goes and wins balls. Look, when Proper came in, I thought, okay, he was 20s captain. He must have something about him. Technically, he'll probably be very good, and I think we've seen that at times. He can come out from the back and he likes the diag and different, but there's been too many times where he's made too many mistakes. We were talking earlier, and Michael probably go into it, but Kilmarnock, the one that he goes off this day, I mean, one of his first performances at Hampden against Motherwell, I think it was, he was poor as well. So when you start actually looking back, you're thinking there is a little bit of a mistake there, and it's a worry moving forward. I mean, I like Casemiro. I know he stepped into centre-back when Tav came on. I think he's a strong defender, technically very good. I think he could go in and play there alongside either Souttar or Balogun if need be. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Is Sterling big enough to play centre-half?
Well, he's done it. He's done it once before, hasn't he, Michael? And he actually fared very well.
I don't understand what's going on with Sterling.
It's a strange one.
I don't get it. When you look at the back end of last season, he was a must-play anywhere on the park starter, one of the first names on the sheet. Whatever it was, you just had to find a space for him. And now, with all the troubles that Rangers have got, he's not getting a sniff anywhere.
And he's just signed a contract extension. It's a strange, it's a head scratcher.
I just don't get it. You know, and that's what I'm saying about centre-half, because look, I don't think that is where he should be playing. So. But when you look at, more importantly, forgetting about centre of the defence, centre of the park, for me, I think Sterling personally probably would be right back, but Casemiro's getting in there ahead of him as well. But the centre of the park then, where you're looking for a bit of athleticism, a bit of presence, I think with a Sterling in there, they'd actually have a bit of a better balance as well.
Yeah, I think the midfield, I think Connor Barron, since he's comes done really well. Diamandi's probably not quite hit the heights that we've seen in the past. I think they need somebody with a little bit of experience. And I know Sterling's not an experienced player, but I think that's what they miss at this moment in time. If you look at the Celtic midfield or the Aberdeen midfield or whoever, they've got experienced players that play in there and they can control games. I don't think we see enough of it from Rangers. And Sterling, for me, it is an interesting one. I think it was the Malmo game where he didn't play and he played Casemiro at left back, and we spoke about it.
Yeah.
And he said he wasn't fit enough. And that's a big red flag for me.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Is he's not trying hard enough? Did he have a knock? He's used sparingly now.
But since that comment, they've given him a contract extension.
Exactly.
And surely must be working hard enough, Alan, or you don't do that.
Well, unless they're trying to protect an asset, because that's something they've not been great at in previous years, as we all know. So, and maybe they're changing their model. They're trying to tie them down to long-term contracts because they know he is a player that they need. But for whatever reason, he's not quite at speed yet.
We should also say, by the way, St Mirren played really well in parts of this game. That was more like the St Mirren of last season at times, I thought. But going back to the right-back situation you've just mentioned there, so Casemiro finally gets his start, Alan, and you've said a few times in the show, maybe you want to rest Tavernier some weekends. They needed to bring him on in this game, actually, to get over the finishing line. How does that work? What's the dynamic moving forwards now, do you think, with the captain? Because it's never easy to leave a captain out, regardless of who's waiting in.
Yeah, I totally agree. But for me, that was because the game that Proper was having.
Yeah.
But he was absolutely struggling. So the easy fix was to put Casemiro in, one who's strong, physical, can deal with that, and you put Tavernier on. I'm not going to lie, I was shocked when I seen it, when Tav wasn't playing. I genuinely thought he'd play because, yes, we've spoke about it. Do I think he needs a rest from time to time? Absolutely. Sometimes taking out the firing line as well. But I was still shocked when I seen it. And then I thought Casemiro played well at right back, getting up and down the pitch. Technically, again, on the ball, very good, finding the striker, getting up, crossing the ball in. The big question mark now is what happens Wednesday. I think he'll come back in and play.
You think Tavernier's... he's a lot...
I'd fall off this seat. I honestly, I genuinely think he'll come in and play because I was shocked.
Who would your starter be, Alan? Who would you, if you were in control?
You are just like that with me in tonight. I like Casemiro there. I think if he gets a... No, but I'm not picking the team, am I?
But you've just dropped
so you'd pick Casemiro?
I think defensively and everything that you'll need up there with the pace that you could be coming up against, I think you need to think smartly.
What does that mean?
That defensive-wise, 1v1, he is better.
Maybe
so,
you
think and the players he's coming up against.
Maybe they'll slot Casemiro into a back three to get...
That is a massive...
You never know, maybe they'll play them both.
Oh, yeah, look, you never know. I mean, time will tell, but so I just think sometimes... Listen, okay, calm down. I'm saying for certain games, I think you have to be smarter. Wednesday, right? You're coming up against real pace, a threat. So I don't see the reason why Casemiro can't play. Look, I think everything that James Tavernier's done has been absolutely brilliant. Like, this is not a dig. I just think in certain games, even when I was playing, we need somebody a little bit more defensive minded. We need somebody that's going to be strong. They're up against pace. This is a danger area. This is how I'm going to stop them. And that's why I think it's huge. It is huge. Yep, it is huge. But that's why we're here. To talk about the big points.
That's why he's the manager.
Do I think it will happen? Do I think the manager will drop him? No, I don't. From my point of view, I think there's certain games like this one up against a really strong forward line with pace that you need somebody that can deal with that. And I believe Casemiro is a guy who can deal with it.
Final one on Rangers. Sorry,
Michael. Again?
Who would you play centre halves?
Suter and Balogun. If all fit and well.
I will say if they're fit, yeah. If they're fit.
Just a final one, Alan, because I'm putting you on the spot continuously here on Rangers. But up top, you would assume.
Brilliant. Keep going.
You would assume.
You like seeing me squirm?
It's been that sort of season so far. You would assume that Dessers comes back in up top because he laid on the winner in the end. Igaman has now been given a couple of chances to start domestically. Doesn't really feel to me like he's taken either of those opportunities fully yet. Albeit he did get a goal, and when he came on, he made an impact against FCSB during the week. It doesn't seem to be happening from the start of the match. I
think that's where Igaman's at this moment in time, coming off the bench, impacting the game. Like I thought he did do well when he came on for Dessers midweek. He gets his goal, and I think that's what he's capable of. We mentioned that when he came on at Dundee United, I thought he played with a real freedom. He was explosive, but from the start, we're not seeing the same player. Is that a fitness thing? Is that trying to get still used to it? I don't know. But from starts of games, I don't think we see the best of him. It's more better when he comes off the bench. And again, I think Dessers will start on Wednesday night.
Okay, now you can put Michael on the spot continuously. Let's get on to the Edinburgh derby, Michael. I know you were watching on, 1-1 in the end. And whatever you say about Hibs, whatever you say about Hearts, that has been a really good start in the dugout for Neil Critchley, hasn't it?
Oh, massive. I mean, look, that couldn't... Well, I mean, it could have been better. He could have won. He could have had, 9 points.
And you weren't a fan. You weren't a fan as well, weren't you? Not.
You questioned him.
You questioned him a little bit. Is that a no? Is that a yes?
I think everybody did. And,
so you as well.
And the only...
I think Alan, we both clearly said, give him a chance, Michael. Give the man a chance. Yep. Analytics have identified him.
I think that's what I was saying. That he's getting an opportunity, and the only way that he'll be able to turn things around, the perception, is by getting results. The manager actually said that himself. He recognised that. So I'm just going to reiterate what the manager said himself. It's not a big name, not a fancy name, but he has the belief in himself. And look, it was a very good performance against a poor St Mirren last week. Yeah. A good performance midweek against a side that I was disappointed in. I thought Ammonia were pretty poor. But again, you come back to the point about you play what's in front of you. And the big thing that's so clear, even in the first half yesterday, is that this is a side that looks so much more comfortable in their setup, and they look like they've been drilled in a way that they sort of know what they're meant to be doing up until the final third, which is the Achilles heel for me with regards to what I've been harping on about all season with Hearts, that they're one-dimensional because they don't have any width and they've got no pace. Yeah. So there's a distinct lack of penetration. But
they have scored 7 goals in 3 games.
Look, I go back to the point I was making about poor opponents last week. The game on Sunday, the game yesterday in the derby, that was crying out for that little bit of pace, that bit of width.
Yeah,
the game was too narrow. But there's very little the manager can do at the moment, because obviously he's not put the squad together, and he's going to have to try to get through to January and rectify that. But having said that, there's 1 or 2 guys in there that I feel you've just got to suffer with them and have them in that area, because it helps to balance the rest of the team out. Whereas,
who are you talking about?
For Hearts, you put Vargas, or you put Forrest, or you have Oda. Now, I'd probably go with Forrest as my first choice out on the right-hand side to give that bit of width. He made a difference when he came on yesterday, because playing with the 2, Danda and Spittle, on the inside channel and trying to get all the width from the fullbacks, it can work on the left because Spittle likes to take that position up, and Penrice is good at getting round, and the rotations and the timing of the movement was good. On the right-hand side, Danda doesn't really want to be playing there, and Oyegoke is not a particularly good attacking fullback. So they need that width to stretch the game out there. But and that's why I think they need to have a winger. Even now, with the limited options they've got, they need to put somebody out there to balance the rest of the team.
Michael, also, the manager is clearly a guy who's developed young players throughout his career. You think Trent Alexander-Arnold and others that he worked with at Liverpool, and they've since said that he helped them develop.
Yep.
He is going to give young players a chance. I know you said this is not his squad, but what he can do is promote. And Liam Fox, of course, is part of the first team squad as well now. And that's a key appointment because he knows those youngsters. He's worked with them as well. And you see a 17-year-old coming off the bench, and what it meant to the fans and to him to get the equaliser on James Wilson. Neil Critchley clearly might feel that there's more there than you've seen, that the Hearts fans has necessarily seen.
The thing that's quite clear with James Wilson is, it's 2 goals that he's got. He scored obviously against St Mirren. He scored there against Hibs as well. And both the goals, the one on Sunday is not scrappy. It's just a really good goal. The one against St Mirren was quite scrappy, but the 2 of them are similar in regards to he clearly has that goal-scoring instinct of knowing where to be. When packed defence, knowing where to be, where the ball's maybe going to land to be able to get in the back of the net. And that is invaluable. The other one, obviously, is Forrester at right back.
Yeah.
And I said it during the game. when he was starting against Dinamo Minsk. Not trying to like overemphasize or over promote, but for me, it's incredible that you can look at a youngster like that and performing absolutely capably, and for somebody like that not to have been in the mix before. Like, young players coming through, if the space is not created for them to continue their growth, they hit a glass ceiling and then they disappear. Their potential is never going to be realised.
So, Mikey, under Nazy, they weren't involved at all.
Well, young Wilson,
you'll know obviously more than I do.
Yeah, the right back Forrester, no, and I just
and Wilson only 4 appearances, is that right? I believe.
Yeah, but I just don't get why, when you're looking at the setup of the squad, that you're not going and creating that space. Why go and get Taylor, for example, from South Central America?
Another boy, Salazar. What happened to him?
He's on the left-hand side, and you're thinking, you've already got Kingsley, and you've signed another good young Scottish player in Penrice. There's 2 guys that can compete at left back. You brought in Oyegoke, and you brought in Taylor at right side. How's the young boy meant to get an opportunity? And now we've seen him, and I'm thinking, that is like that to me is just poor. He should be getting the opportunity. He's
going to change now. It's going to change now,
and he's good enough. And he's good enough.
And that's the worry is who's made the decisions.
That's
that from me, from the outside looking in. I'm like, well, who's made that decision to go and do that?
Yeah.
I mean, surely it's not solely down to Nazy in his time when he was a manager. Of course, he would have had a big say, but there must have been other people round about that squad and that development for the young players coming through that would identify this is the next one. We don't need to go and spend X amount because this is the guy.
And some people obviously didn't fancy him, didn't think he was up to it. Yeah. Whereas Liam Fox came in caretaker of charge, put him straight in, started the game. So clearly Liam Fox thought he was good enough. And the good thing is now, it looks like he will get his opportunity. And it's not, he's still young. He's not going to be playing every week. He's not going to be starting every week. But there has to be a bit of foresight to think, right, here's a guy, I need to be giving him 15 games this season. To get him 15 games, I need to have another right back experienced who can help him along, and we can get the space for him to continue his growth. Otherwise, as I said, youngsters, their careers, they do not reach the potential they could if you don't create the space for them to grow.
Yeah, time's against us. Al's got dinner plans, Michael, so we have to push on. I have to ask you a few more things before we finish tonight. I'm not sure with 3-4 minutes left in the show, this is the kind of question you want, or you can even possibly get into, but Hibs, Michael, let's discuss Hibs, because how many times have we said on this show throughout this season that they get themselves in good positions and they throw the game away? Is it indiscipline? Is there a lack of understanding among the players in that pitch of how to see a game out, Michael? What's the root of the problem there?
What you see at Hibs now is a manifestation of mismanagement over a number of years. It's as simple as that. And it's incredible how, behind the scenes, people can pretend and think that they know what they're doing and they can spend money, and then all of a sudden they can, stumble along with perhaps good professionals that have been in the building already. And then bit by bit, they start to disappear, and you're left with the remnants of what has been put together by people that don't really know what they're doing. And that is what's happening at the moment with Hibs. They're trying to obviously rectify that, but it takes time. They now have a team that, when the game started yesterday, there's one Scot that was in the side, and he plays for Australia, Martin Boyle. And the point I'm making there is that there's a lack of identity of the team. It's a transient first team squad. It comes and goes so quickly. There's very, very few players of substance and character as well. And they are right in the mire. They're right in the mire.
That was my last question on Hibs. I mean, you've praised so many teams. So Alan, do you think genuinely they are relegation fodder?
At this moment in time, they have to be. I mean, they have to turn it around quickly. I think the amount of times that they've been in good situations and lost crazy goals. I mean, if David Gray had here, he'd probably be pulling it out. But in ways I do feel for him, because he's saying the same things
Just
over
needs
and
to
over.
grow a beard like you,
Upside down head, just spin it round. But he
That
must
beard
be
does look magic, though.
he must be raging, because he sees it week in, week out, and he'll be trying to fix it. But sometimes I think, sees a back four, you might know about this, Michael, as well, or defensive-minded players. Say you are losing hundreds of corners, goals, and you start to panic about it, you start to worry. So there's a nervousness within the team when you get in front, and there's the last 10 minutes, because they continuously do it. But well, I think they're going to struggle.
Yeah, especially because a lot of other teams that maybe a lot of pundits questioned, Michael, are the teams now picking up a lot of points, like St Johnstone, the Simo Valakari effect, the post-Craig Levein effect, Michael. They just keep on going at the moment. That's another good win, wasn't it, at Dens?
Massive win. And he's somebody that's clearly got loads of passion and energy that is it looks like certainly is feeding into the team as well. I mean, look, the results at the weekend, obviously on the Saturday, really fed into that, my fear for Hibs, that had they not, if they weren't going to win the game yesterday, it just continues that like downward spiral, because Ross County coming back to win 2-1, St Johnstone winning 2-1, the likes of Dundee and Kilmarnock that lost the games, you feel that they've got a bit of grit and determination about them, and they'll get points, and they'll get themselves up the table. St Mirren, I had a little bit of a concern for them, but you see the performance against Rangers yesterday. They're another side that you can imagine they'll really dig in and scrap, and they'll be able to pull themselves out of any real trouble. That's my biggest concern for Hibs. The character. I mean, the quality is clearly lacking, but the character. And the biggest indictment that I can give and label on Hibs is that they've ended up in the last few years spending far, far more money, and what they've got in return is far worse than.
So do you think David Gray's the man to get them out of it then? Do you reckon he can he turn it round?
My fear for David Gray.
I want young managers first and foremost to do well. Of course, you never want to see anybody sacked, of course.
The fans
absolutely,
love him.
Absolutely. But I'm just saying, with everything that you've mentioned and everything that's going on, can he turn it round?
Well, basically what you've just said is my fear, Al, that the situation has just becomes so big that it just eats anybody alive that tries to deal with it. So realistically, who's able to turn something around like that? It probably will need to be somebody with lots of experience that can then just calm the whole thing down and try to refocus people, and also pinpoint some characters that they can get into the side. I mean, the other thing I'll just finish on is David Gray is in an unenviable position, because it's all these things that we've just highlighted, but he also has to take the responsibility in terms of he is picking the team, and there's players in that team that he cannot pick again, because they're the sort of players that will get you the sack.
Yeah, we can't really get into Ross County Kilmarnock because we're almost out of time. But I think you mentioned it, Michael. Another really good 3 points for the Staggies, and at home they seem so hard to beat. I know you guys were up there recently. Aberdeen needed a late winner there. It's only Aberdeen and Celtic that have beaten them at home so far this season, and you would imagine if that kind of home form continues, they will be fine throughout this season. So let's just move on. I think there's a question coming in about a prediction. I'm sure somebody wants to put Alan.
Oh, better not be about Wednesday.
There you go. It is. Go on, Alan. Give us your prediction.
Oh, come on. I'll go 2-1 Rangers.
Michael? Shocker. Michael?
What do you expect me to say?
Do you know Rangers are favourite at the bookings?
I wouldn't have had them down as favourites at this moment in time. I must admit. Look, the Rangers have enough to go there and win. Of course they do. Can Aberdeen win? Yes, they can. But I wouldn't have Rangers as favourites right now.
Well, we need to check what McBookie's odds are, because
we'll be having a look, Michael. Right, we will have a look, but you're right. Favourites.
I'm not sure what their specific ones are, but some of them have got Rangers favourites. For me, I think it will be. See, Aberdeen love to win by the odd goal, and I think it'll be the same again. I think it'll be 2-1 Aberdeen.
Okay.
Right, let's write this down and remember.
Oh, listen, if you both are wrong, I'll remind you. You know that. I'll remind you. What a week ahead anyway. Brilliant midweek games. And then next weekend, Premier Sports Cup semi-finals. I know you guys will be there. 2 fantastic games to look forward to, with Aberdeen Celtic on the Saturday and Motherwell Rangers on the Sunday. We can't wait for all of that. And we'll be back on the Social Club next Monday night. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you, guys. See you next Monday.
See ya.
The Scottish Football Social Club is brought to you by McBookie.com. Take a lookie at McBookie today.